All right. Volume. Okay. Good evening, everybody. Welcome. This is FMA Discussion. This is episode 294, and tonight we have Guro Janel, and we're going to be talking on her FMA journey as well as her Silat journey, and her teaching, how the both systems and all that, compare and contrast, similarities, differences. Does she combine when she teaches? And all that. And then also she's got a joint venture coming up seminar with Guru Pagan. And we're going to be also discussing that. And plus we'll get her insight maybe on how we can get more women in these arts as well, and her lens on sparring. So without further ado, we're going to be bringing her up. Hey there. Welcome.
Hey, how are you?
Good. Thank you for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's our goal to try to get more females on here. So slowly but surely. And initially it was some challenges. You know, they were a little fearful coming on, or anxiety and all that. But as more, I've seen them come on, more and more are coming. And I think that's only going to improve as time goes on. I hope.
I hope.
Yeah, it's a good thing. You guys definitely should be heard. So before we, yes, folks, if you are watching, please tell us where you're watching from. Smash that like button. We got Guru Mall. Hello from Brunei. Dim Bronco. Yeah. So before we jump into the eclectic, so to speak, the FMA and Silat, like what was your martial arts journey pre that?
So I started with a blended system. I started out with Sifu Cas Magda out in Reseda, California. I still live in the Valley, but I was there for a good amount of time. Learned a blended system of Kali, Silat, JKD, and Muay Thai. And then when I took a hiatus, my journey started there because I was actually looking for a connection to my culture. I guess I should have started with that. So being first generation, Filipina, I didn't know much about my culture in the sense of, what it was like to grow up in that sense of being Filipino or being Filipina. So it wasn't actually until I got into college where I found the Filipino club, and they're like, hey, by the way, did you know that we have our own martial arts system? I was like, no, not really. And so that's kind of how I fell into it.
God, I keep hearing that with the younger folks, like,
yeah,
and I'm just like, God almighty, how is basketball and taekwondo more popular over there?
Right. That's a whole nother discussion, but that's exactly what happened. I mean, I remember growing up, and when my parents got together with, their friends, they would try and make us do the dances, right? And to me, I was like, I don't really want to do that. This is so foreign. It's not what my friends are doing. So I kind of pushed it aside. And unfortunately, now in hindsight, looking back, I really should have obviously honored that, because the dances that they were teaching me were exactly the same, movements and motion that I'm doing now. So it's come full circle. But going back, you know what I mean? And going back to my training. So when I was at the Magda Institute, I saw my teacher do the Kambangan, and I was like, wait a minute, I think I did that as a kid, And now that I put two and two together, it's like, holy smokes.
When you say teacher, which one?
This is Cas Magna.
So you didn't do any, and you not I shouldn't say unusual. I should say actually really neat. So you didn't do anything like far as in traditional martial arts
No.
aspect. I think that's fantastic. Most of us, we had to go through those channels because it was what was available.
Yeah.
It's not like we had anything against the other one. It just
Right.
really wasn't available, especially out here in Connecticut. And so when did you move? So when did you come from the Philippines to California?
I did not. I was born here. That's
Oh, you
why.
were born here. So when did
Yeah.
your parents?
My parents, my parents immigrated back in, I want to say maybe 65. And so I'm first born here. My sisters were born in the Philippines, but I was born here. So I was raised very Americanized. And, the interesting part about the martial arts culture, of course, we grow up watching TV and we're like, oh, that's really cool. I want to do karate. Like, I want to be Cobra Kai,
Karate Kid,
whatever. Karate Kid, exactly. And so I remember asking my uncles about it. And again, this is a whole separate topic when we talk about culture. I remember asking my uncles about it and they would shy away from it. And of course, to them, me asking them like, hey, can you teach me karate? They're like, no, but we can teach you other stuff. And we're like, no, I want to know karate. And then, going back from uncle or to different, family members, there was one uncle who I now understand why he was very much against teaching me any martial art in general. But it was because when we look back to, I guess you'd say World War II. He did serve, and it brings back a lot of uneasy feelings for him, and so he didn't want to approach it with me. But when he passed away, I didn't realize that he actually trained in Kali, and it was such a mind, it blew my mind because I'm like, holy crap! This whole time I've been
you had a source or potential one.
And now it's just gone because he didn't teach his kids.
Oh, it's funny. I was talking to somebody very recently, and it's escaping me who it was. And I was bringing it up. I said, God, could you imagine how many systems have fallen by the wayside because there wasn't a family to carry it on or what have you? And I think a lot of that happened. And I'm sure people know more about this answer or what I'm thinking. But I think a lot of it was post World War II. Like a lot of it just kind of went like the Salvador's brothers. Like I'm trying to find information on them, and nothing. It's like they're gone. Yeah. It's like they just fell off the map. Like I can't find anything on them, and it's just sad that. And so if they're and they were major key players in Cebu, so it would make sense that some of the smaller, perhaps like your uncle, just gone, and that's like family systems or treasures that are never to be heard about or seen. I just think that's just sad. And I think I hope it just doesn't get worse as time goes on in that case. But that's but yeah, so you had somebody right in the family tree, so to speak. And gosh,
big loss. So
yeah, but I'm sure you're not the only one who's gone through that. There was a relative who knew but just never got the opportunity to teach, and the kids were maybe didn't pursue it or ask or what have you. And we got folks already jumping in. Wow, let me see here. I'm missing out on the comments. We got Mom, we got Dylan, we got Julius. Yes, Julius. Yeah, no argument here, Julius. And thank you. Oh, Mike Frazier bringing hip. And then no, I did, and unfortunately, Julius. Cas Magna. Hot dang. So like, how old were you when you went to go seek out Cas Magna, and how did it happen?
It was really interesting. So the person I was dating at the time was actually at the Inosanto Academy, and it's one of those things where when you're younger, you have all the time in the world, no money, right?
Yeah, I got plenty of time. I just got no greenbacks.
Right. And so I actually didn't start my martial arts journey until I graduated from college. I thankfully landed my first job. I'm like, oh, great, I'm going to go blow it on some martial arts. I unfortunately didn't get to go to the Inosanto Academy just because of distance, and I was still pursuing schooling. And so the closest thing was the Magna Institute.
Wow. And that was it. How did you find out? You just kind of researched and just found that they were kind of far as proximity close by? Okay.
Yep. And again, it's one of those things where culturally, it's very rampant in certain schools and not, where, again, I didn't even know that my cousin's husband was an instructor there. So again, it's this weird unspoken thing where it's like, yeah, I train, but I'm not going to share it. And it's like, I don't get it. Why?
Yeah.
I don't understand.
Huh. And so, wow. So what'd you think of it? You go in this class, you're being exposed to these different arts. Like you mentioned, there's under his umbrella there, you got Muay Thai, you got Silat, obviously, JKD, and of course the Anasano blend, as far as I think he's got Villa Brill too, if I'm not mistaken.
He does.
Yeah. Okay. So what'd you think? Here you are, you're seeing, what was your initial thoughts?
It was the perfect, it was a perfect school I could have walked into. It had it not been, the Inosanto Academy, but that's just kind of how my brain works. I like to be exposed to everything first and then dial down into, the thing that I want to focus on. So it got me into really great fundamentals of learning distance and fighting and all the striking. And then as we learned the close quarter combat, I was like, well, this is where I want to be, just because, just my mentality in general, getting hit's not fun. I can take a hit. I don't want to take a hit, but when you're smaller, you're used to being pummeled. So that type of pressure is kind of what I've gravitated to in terms of learning how to fight my way out of it.
Okay. So when you say close range, like in regards to the weapons?
Yeah, regardless of weapons.
Okay. All right. Well, that would make sense before we jump into Silat, why that resonates with you.
Yeah.
It's hard to do that art from afar, long range. So what, okay, so your experience FMA, did something click with FMA? Here you are, you're seeing your native art and all that. So
yeah. Just everything, we talk about coming full circle again. It really hit me that, wow, in order for me to honor my heritage, I really should be exploring FMA. And so with that came, well, here's all the different aspects of FMA and where it comes from as an archipelago. You've got so many great facets of all these different arts that are now compiled into certain, styles of FMA. So some are very traditional and other ones are, what you were talking about before. Do I mix the two together with Silat and FMA? Yes, because they go hand in hand. They're sister arts,
Yeah, especially in Mindanao. Right. Yeah. So all right. So how's all right. So you're basically doing the Anasano blend there. So tell us about the experience under Cas Magna. Was it? I'm guessing a lot of drills for different counts, different weapon applications, combinations thereof. Does that sound about right?
Yeah, his teaching style. So again, if you look at the system, and I'll kind of connect this to the system that I'm training in now. The way they teach their students is that the conditioning is very heavy in the beginning. So it's typically done with JKD and Muay Thai, right, to condition the body. And then they start to introduce a little bit of the FMA and a little bit of the Silat. Now, as you progress in the phases, so it's beginning phase all the way up to like phase 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm not quite sure what they are now. But as you progress into the higher phases, they focus heavily on the intricacies of FMA and Silat. So
Okay.
when we dial back to where I am now, in the beginning when I was learning, Alvin's art, the beginning phases was really tough. And I remember going to that first seminar, and that was kind of a fluke because a friend of mine, after I took a hiatus, a friend of mine was like, "Hey, come with me to the seminar." And I'm like, "Okay, I'm sure, why not?" And I remember the very first set of conditioning drills, I was like, "Holy smokes. One, I'm out of shape. Two, everything that he showed was all the conditioning that kind of prepared me from cast magnet system, but now I was learning it from the ground. Whereas before, a lot of it was stand up, and then we got a little bit to the ground. So just depending on the teacher, some style of Silat's all upright, some style of Silat's is a lot of its groundwork, a little bit upright, just depending on the territory, right?
Okay. We got let me just see if I can squeeze this in. We got a question from Julius. Yes, I should change. What is, Julius, this song that is played in the beginning? Brian's kids made it. But yeah, I definitely have thought about playing, that new wave post, definitely. Question, and then we can get back on track, but just so I don't forget his question. When Navy training, was it a potluck, and was there a favorite Pinoy dish? Did all the people in their training carry folders everywhere? And what were their favorite brands, being that they were mostly Valley locals? Okay, and did they go to a Valley martial arts supply?
My goodness, that's quite the question.
So, so any potluck experience?
Any potluck experience? Well, the students will go out afterwards and have a potluck experience.
All right, you know what? That'll constitute. So, what was the favorite dish?
Usually whiskey, and
Usually
beer.
it was in liquid form.
It was in liquid form. Yes, that was my preferred. I can't do it now, but that was the preferred form of potluck dish that we did.
Whiskey.
Yeah.
Oof. I would feel like I got back from Iraq the next day.
Well, hey, it was hard getting up to train the next day. I can tell you that.
Yeah, I would be in a coma. Do all the people in their training group carry folders?
That's a loaded question. From my recollection, yes. Is there a specific brand that was favored over the other? I know it was kind of split half and half. They preferred what was it? They preferred Spidecos. I preferred I preferred Benchmades. So
also good brands. Okay.
Yeah, it just depends. I mean,
yeah,
everyone has a preference.
Some time ago, Spyderco, I remember Spyderco in the 90s, the Endura. I mean, that was the blade. I mean, if you didn't have an Endura, 2000s, I mean, that was it.
That's right.
And Valley Martial Arts Supply. Sounds like it's a well-known place.
It is. It's kind of mecca in the valley. Yes, we do. So there's we would actually go there not to buy any weaponry, but just to go and hang out. Because what's cool about that place is if you're ever in the San Fernando Valley, it's one of those like old school shops where you walk in, you're like, wow, there's a lot of stuff packed in literally, I don't know, maybe a 500 square foot store. I could be wrong about dimensions, but it's a pretty small store. But
okay.
every little aisle, and there's like so many different things. So it's organized of like there's books, videos, whatever, but every little nook and cranny has something packed in there, and you never know what you're going to pick up. But in addition to that, once you start talking to the school owners, there's actually a school in the back that they teach out of. So it's one of those things where it's like, hey, what are you guys doing back there? And sometimes you get invited and sometimes you don't.
So what do they, interesting. So is it primarily what they're selling, predominantly martial arts stuff?
Yes, it's completely martial arts gear, from weaponry books to knives, everything.
Wow, wow, wow. And then what they teach, I mean, is it, are they more teaching traditional martial arts or other stuff?
That's a loaded question. I actually don't know.
Okay. Yeah,
I
well,
mean,
we'll go with that. They're teaching a little of everything.
I think a little bit of everything. Yeah.
Old school black belt issues, that would
Yeah.
be picking some of those up.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow,
Yeah.
wow, wow. Instruments in there too. All right. Cool. Homemade DVDs. Huh. Sounds like a place interesting.
It's super cool.
And this is low. And this is where again? I'm sorry.
It's in North Hollywood, California.
North Hollywood, California. Okay.
Yeah,
And
that
that's
place is a gem. So if you ever are ever in Southern California, you have to make a trip to go there. It's a place like
Southern. And so in relation to San Diego, how far?
3 hours.
3 hours. So it's by LA.
Yeah, it's right above LA.
Right above LA. Okay. Okay. So it looks like I'm going to San Diego for Brandon Ricketts, August. Okay.
Nice.
Okay. All right. So, all right. I have to mark that down. Um, all right. So then you took a hiatus with Cast Magna, and then you did some FCS. It sounds like was that kind of maybe like the next stop?
Yep, that would be it. Again, just random folks who I've just kept in touch with over the years are like, yeah, let's go try this, let's go try that. And then there was a guy out here named Ray Cole who was teaching FCS, and very, very awesome class that I took. I mean, it was one of those things that when you are so used to doing the same thing over and over again, you step out of it, you let it digest for years, and then you go into a different set of movement patterns that's a little bit similar to what you're doing, same but different, it just opens your eyes to what the possibilities are. And so unfortunately he moved, and there went my FCS training.
Okay. If I'm not mistaken, FCS it's kind of a blend. It's got some bikini,
Mm-hmm.
it's got minor knees,
Mm-hmm.
obviously Ray's work on the karambit.
Yeah.
Am I missing anything?
I don't.
And then he was with Sayak.
Mm-hmm.
So did you get some of the karambit training and all that?
Not much, because when I started with them, it was mainly focused on stick at the time. So obviously, just again, the way Ray was teaching was we do stick for about a couple of months, and then we transfer over to knife, and then interchange the two.
Okay. All right. And you enjoyed it, the time
Yeah.
spent? Okay.
Oh yeah.
How long?
What's that?
How long were you there?
Not very long, because again, like it was great when I was able to train, but when you had to move, unfortunately, all that training stopped. I know there's Guru Rich down in Baldwin Park, but we don't see each other very often.
Okay, right. I was gonna say because he's got quite a few reps around. I mean,
Yeah. And if you're gonna be in San Diego, there's a guy in San Diego too.
Oh yeah, okay, all right. I'm sure Brandon's gonna occupy my.
I'm sure.
Yeah, he's got big plans for me. I'm not sure what they are, but yeah, I know. And yeah, it's 3 hours away, Francisco. Okay, all right. So then from there, how much was there a gap of time far as where you transcended to PTK under Tuan Apollo sanction?
That was almost I would say at least another year before I got into religiously training again. So I started in 2004, took a break probably in 2009 maybe, 2008, 2009, and then picked it up religiously again, I'd say 2013. And that was with SBL. And then I was introduced to Tuhon Apollo probably shortly after. So I didn't really train too heavily into Apollo stuff until much recently. So it's probably with Alvin's probably another, I'd say I've been with him about 8-9 years now. And then with Tuhon Apollo, it's a little recent. So maybe 3 years, 4 years.
So okay, how'd you guys meet up?
How did we meet? That's a good question. He was out here for a seminar, I believe, and that was with
I know he's got a couple reps in California.
yeah, at the time I think the rep was Alvin Alvin,
Alvin.
Alvin Katakunan.
Yeah, yeah. I
Yeah.
think he still is, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah,
I don't know who the reps are. There's so many. So
yeah, yeah. I know Alvin. I'm pretty sure Alvin still is. I'm pretty sure. Yeah.
yeah, so he was doing a seminar there, and I just remember walking to class, and I was like, wow, this is a great curriculum that anybody can pick up, like right off the bat, go home and actually be able to, go through it without having to think, what the hell did we just do?
Yeah, I had him on, and I mean, he's through the whole Taekwondo world. I mean, I mean, it's no joke what he's got going on and how he's able to spread. And just spoke to him the other day, matter of fact, about he's got an event going on with Ace in New Jersey.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So you like the structure and what you saw, how it was presented, and everything.
Yeah, and it's funny, like I joke because it's one of those things where I think that's why it's so hard sometimes to find your groove in FMA, because the teachers, or the ones who have been teaching, um, they're taught exactly the way that their teachers have taught them, right? So
Mm.
it's oral tradition. A lot of it isn't structured, and one day you'll walk in and you'll be working on knife, and then the next day you'll walk in and you'll be working on something completely different. That
Very
doesn't, like,
random, and
yeah,
that's how I got it.
I,
It
I know, I
kind
know.
of drove me nuts, knowing without knowing. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and then
You know?
you train in that manner for a couple of months, and you're like, Jesus, I don't feel like I've learned anything. You've learned a ton, but it's up to the student to sit there and compile everything and figure out, okay, in a linear fashion, how does this all fit together? And so, teachers like Tuhun Apollo and like Guru Alvin, those are the ones I actually gravitated to, because when you meet them, you're like, they're unassuming. They have these big smiles. They're like, okay, that's cool. Well,
Especially John Apollo. I
yeah,
mean, he's like,
yeah, right. And it's the unassuming ones that you're like, all right, let's see what you have to offer. And then you watch them move, and you're like, okay, yes, you have it. And then you watch them teach, and you're like,
yeah.
holy smokes, I can actually, this is where I want to be.
Yeah, he's very. I could just tell when I had him on. I mean, like not just charismatic, but you could tell he has a very structured, oriented syllabus.
Yeah.
Definitely, because matter of fact, it was random when I first got it. It was the Anasanon blend through the Vunak lineage, and it was like one week you're doing this, next week you're doing this, and you're like trying to put the pieces together. And then it wasn't until Sayok, when I got with Sayok,
Oh, yeah.
Montana, it was really organized, formatted, and all that. So, but yeah, hey, they're still good experiences. You know what I mean?
Of
Despite what you
course.
might gravitate towards, as far as unstructured, structured, I think they're still worthy experiences to take with you. And
Oh, yeah.
but I definitely see a change though, where more systems are making a point to kind of be organization. You know what I mean? Like I'm definitely seeing that. So I think that's a trend. I think that's going to continue, as opposed to like I think there'll still be backyard training groups, but I think the backyard, like, oh, you might get this. I think I'm seeing a move from that.
Hmm.
Good, bad, or indifferent. I'm not sure, but definitely
Yeah.
seeing just from the interviews I'm doing, like everybody seems to have more organization and structure and all that. And I'm going to guess that's definitely the Western influence.
I mean, I would imagine, and I think it's also, we look at the younger generation, and I just think that their attention span is not there. And so if you have somebody walk in and you're not structured, and then they come in, and,
That's funny.
it's like, shoot,
Are you talking about our today's millennials?
of
Can we?
course.
Can we just identify them as who they are? That they're just basically
Exactly. Exactly.
interesting bunch, huh?
Oh, you know what? If you ever want to be challenged, go teach a bunch of them because it's so hard to keep them in line. It's like herding cats. You're like,
Yeah, I'd just be like, see, I do this part time. I would just be like at the end class, hey, I'm just gotta be honest with you guys. I don't think this is for you. Just be honest, you know? You know what I mean? Like the one luxury about not having a school anymore is I can choose and pick who I want.
yeah.
And you're in that. If you have that millennial,
Oh yeah.
we're not going to jive well, and I'm probably just going to refer you to somebody else. I'm not going to be rude. I'm not going to be a jerk, but I'm just going to be like, hey,
Yeah.
here, take this number.
Yeah.
He's going to be such a better fit for you.
Yeah.
So I have the three, like, far as the ensemble blend, Cas Magna, FCS with Ray, and then your PTK under Apollo. Just for folks who are watching, any kind of similarities, differences as far as methodology? There's the carryover, anything that kind of stood out in that regards?
Let's see. I mean, footwork is fundamental to all of it. It's just a variation of which direction you happen to flip the diamond, right? But that is like the key thing to all the arts is the footwork. And sometimes you have teachers that only focus on footwork and then they teach you the upper body. You have other teachers who just straight go into the upper body and say, hey, your feet will follow, right?
Your feet will follow. Yeah. I think that's true.
You know what? I believe in both. I do.
I think there's definitely merit to both. Sure.
Yeah. But in terms of, between the systems that I've been able to train in, definitely their structure is the one thing that was always key for me. So my question, always going into any system was, what is the structure, and what is, as the student, what is the expectation from beginning to say a year from now? If the student still looks like the same trainer as when they first started, then there's something wrong in terms of, okay, how do we reorganize this so that the student can look like they've progressed at even a step further, right?
Sure, yeah.
So
if they're there a year and they're kind of the same place,
yeah,
either the teacher's just not paying attention to them and putting them in a corner facing the wall and just telling them to swing randomly, or there's something wrong with the methodology. I mean,
exactly, and that's kind of the that's the theme that I found in all three of those teachers, is that the method of teaching is there, but also I don't know I don't want to say it's intelligence, but maybe it's like you said, it's the attention to how you can relate to the student so that they can understand what you're trying to teach them, right? So sometimes you have to tell a student 5 different ways in order to understand that one technique. And those teachers are awesome about,
I think the ones or two that they understand some students are visual, auditory, tactile, depending on, and you got to be able to really embrace that, and you know what I mean. Take an account on that. As far as students are concerned, you just can't like my way or the highway. I mean, unless you just don't want students.
Yeah.
If that's the case, then do your thing. But so I mean, obviously footwork. I mean, PTK. For his footwork. I mean, Guy, those stories, man, weren't waking up at 5 a.m. in the morning over in PH and you're doing the Khalid dance for 2 hours,
Yeah. Well, going to the, on that topic of footwork, I've been able to take some of Tuhun Jack Latore's classes, and when down footwork, I'm like, holy smokes, I love it because I'm a beginner. Like I'm a beginner all the time, but when he starts to break down the footwork, I'm like, I can't even walk. It's pretty crazy.
Different because just again, I wouldn't know this if I had not done the interviews, but PTI, Bill McGrath sanction, is really the old. I mean, like, and that I don't mean that in a negative way. When you, if I'm not mistaken, when the Tuan Palo came later, so you're definitely getting different methods from what I understood from my interviewing them both. Like you're more from a Tuan Palo Tri-V formula. Is that accurate? Am I accurate in that?
I have no clue. I just train. I honestly don't know. I don't know.
Yeah, see, Tuan Bill is definitely pre-Tri-V. So you're getting 12 methods, 64 ways of attack, the cicadas, all that. And again, I only know this because of the interviews. Where, if I'm not mistaken, I could be wrong. I'm sure Paulo was definitely exposed to some point in other stuff, but I think the newer guys Tri-V, like Tuan Jared, Tri-V, and all that. But again, don't call me on that. So, what were some maybe the differences among the three, like that you trained in?
Really, the focus on what the intent.
If any, I guess.
What's that?
I said, if any differences that you recall or whatever.
To the difference, honestly, I think is the intent. So
okay, interesting.
The intent for me, that's kind of what I picked up. Not just looking at the three. The intent of one of the teachers was go in, stay committed, and learn how to fight your way from a very committed standpoint. And the other two that I've trained with, it's very much you're in and out. So that's why, again, we talk about footwork. You're in, you get your hits in, and then you're back out.
Break in, break out. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Okay. Yeah, which is PTK. Okay. Awesome. Yeah. Awesome. Wow. So, but now for status quo, you're just doing Tuan Apollos as far as FMA is concerned?
Yeah. I mean, it's what I like and how my mind works in terms of being able to, again, I talk about, curriculum. I can digest it easily for myself to understand and then be able to take it back and relate it to, blending it with Silat.
Wow, interesting. We're going to be jumping into that. We got some more folks jumping in. Till you get a female practitioner on here and everybody's coming out. I don't know if it could be coincidence. I'm not sure.
And it's Friday.
Yeah, that's true. We got Maestro Alvin, Francisco, Guru Terry. We got Paul. Make sure I'm just not missing any questions here. The problem, most students really don't have a goal. They just, yeah, right. And particularly if the instructor is not instilling them to be their own version or self-creativity or their self-expression.
Yeah, that's true.
It's a bunch of robots, At least you do a 3-hour session to make sure we blend. Yeah, right. Get to know them, see what they want. Absolutely. And we got Jonathan Pang. Happy Friday from Vancouver. Right. So, okay. So let's get into Silat. So you first exposed to Silat via Cas Magna, am I correct?
Yeah. And completely opened my eyes to, again, the history and the culture of the Philippines. So, the quest for my journey of figuring out what the Philippines was all about and how that relates to me coming here, that his style of Silat comes from Paul de Tuarez. So it's a little different in terms of what I do now. And, when we look at historically how that lineage is, those guys are huge, man. They're like your height. How tall are you?
I mean, there was 4 brothers.
Yeah, they're huge.
I know Uncle Bill's still alive. I think is I think there's so in the Netherlands, Vic. I don't quote me. I obviously
Yeah,
quote that
yeah,
the other, yeah. But it's just fascinating. You know, Burton told me this, like what each kind of brought to the table, and it was just so unique, like how each one went in their own little way and all that, and what they all had to offer. But yeah, so Butte Nagar, right? It sounds like what you pretty much got. Okay, yeah, which is
yeah,
fascinating.
yeah. And so Cass's expression of it is buka jalan. And again, I don't know which what aspects of the brothers that he decided to blend together, but that's his expression of it. So
Cool. Okay.
yeah, buka jalan.
Yep.
And it was interesting learning that in that style because it's very, very rooted. And again, we talk about as a student, sometimes you find things that you like and you don't like, and you're like, okay, do I want to force myself to continue on this path because I want to, see how far I can take it, or do I kind of want to be like, okay, I want to take a break and like me and figure out what aspects of it do I like and don't like. And so for that type of style, what was great about it was learning how to stay rooted, but it was hard for me at the time because again, when we look at anybody's journey in martial arts, we also look at the age, right? So I was younger at that point and I'm squirrely. I move around a lot. I can't sit in one spot. So it forced me to stay rooted and have to, fight from that.
Oh, okay. All right.
Right. And so for me, I was like, okay, I need to be able to move around a lot because at that time, the JKD training for me was awesome. And I'm like, how do I go from being able to be mobile and then all of a sudden now I'm rooted? It was hard for me to put two and two together, right? So when we fast forward to Silat Buka Lingkaran, it's very much like your hits are kind of like what in the footwork in PTI, you're in and out and you're in and out.
Okay. Interesting because wow, this I want to hear more about because Butte Nagar, what I'm getting from Burton, man, like you're closing.
You're closing in.
You're going dive entry, you're going double bicep. I mean, you're getting in there doing as much damage humanly possible in the shortest amount of time.
Yeah.
And all that. But you're saying this style that you're doing now is more entering and exiting as far as the hits?
You're still, so how do I explain it? When we talk about again where the art comes from, right? So you have these big guys who can stay rooted. They can take the hits, they can do whatever they want. I can't do that. I'm tiny. I'm 5'1". So a lot of the times when we do the jurus and we try to go and do the application, it was tough for me to translate that because I'm like, shoot, I need to be at least 20 pounds heavier in order to get this done, right? So when we look at the Southeast Asians, a lot of them, well, I can't say blanket statement, but the reason why I think I gravitated towards SBL is because of the way that it's trained, but also when we talk about being committed, it's not staying rooted where your feet are planted and for example, like you're just planted and you have to you do your application and try and manipulate the person's body so that one, you're still staying in your linear fashion, but they're moving around you, right? Because I'm smaller, it's easier for me to be able to do that same technique while in motion, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, it definitely makes sense. Yeah. So did you like the forward levers, the levers in Butte Nagar, but it sounds like you prefer this where you can kind of be in and out and
I do because again, like I'm smaller, so my hits, like if I try and hit you, you're probably like, oh, that's a nice tap, right? So the what's interesting about if I were to compare the two and how they were taught, again I go back to this rooted system because everything came from a lower base, right? So that just keeps you rooted in front of your opponent in as opposed to in SBL, you talk about where it stems from. It's from the Minangkabau region of western Sumatra, and a lot of them are farmers. So a lot of it is they're used to being in low positions from planting and doing the farming, and so when you're conditioned in that type of training, where yes, you're still planted but you're still moving, it's easier for smaller people to be able to manipulate the body in different regions by hitting high, low, versus me being rooted and trying to figure out, okay, using the lever, how am I supposed to get my body weight to manipulate somebody who's probably 6'4"?
Yeah. No, like as good as the four levers are in those levers, but I mean, if there's a huge discrepancy in weight, I mean, that's
yes, it's tough.
Yeah, for sure. Wow.
I struggle with it.
Yeah, no, understood. So do you have a lot? So it sounds like you have a lot of ground in the system as well. Is that correct?
It is. Not to say that it's a ground fighting art, but when we talk about like tempering the body or conditioning, a lot of it starts from the ground first, right? So we kind of equate it to, you got to learn how to crawl first before you walk, right? So you start from the ground, then you start mid-level, which is, or kuda, which is like the horse stance, and then you're fully upright. So you're learning three different variations of vertical fighting before you take it to the ground.
Wow. And who? I'm sorry again. And it's Alan. And I'm sorry. It's called Alan. The system.
Alvin Ginenau.
And how? So you met him at a seminar in California, or?
Yeah, he was out here in Orange County. Did a seminar, and I remember, again, from my limited training, I was like, okay, cool. I'd love to see what other Silat systems look like out there. And when I saw a move, I was like, holy smokes, what is this? I've never been exposed to this. And when you think of the way, if go check them out after this, but when you're seeing somebody move in that manner, in that fashion, and then you kind of see similarities in how you move upright in Pikiti Tersha, it's like, holy smokes, that is the marriage that I have been looking for all this time.
Oh wow, okay, all right. Oh, that's nice. All right, you got two things that kind of, all right.
Extremely complementary. Whereas a lot of systems, they don't play well together.
Yeah. If you got one that's kind of always on the ground, you got one that's very tall and erect, like maybe like KI, for instance.
Yeah.
That could be tough. But so what? Okay, so what? How about weapons? Like, does he teach weapons in there? I mean, I'm guessing the Karambit, of course, but anything besides that?
Karambit and the Kris, because in Indonesia, that's kind of what the traditional weaponry is, right? So all the movements are very similar. All the entries are very similar in terms of FMA. So again, that's why it's such a beautiful marriage between the two.
With the Kris, though, obviously, just edge awareness, because being double edged. I mean, so did they give you special like techniques on that from the Moro aspect, again,
it's so interesting because it's just the way the movement of how the Kris is, right? So it's not necessarily a committed weapon where you're slicing all the way in. It's really just there to slash and get your way out of there.
The wave, it's just interesting, the wave on the neck, how it can compress again. It's just just fascinating, like just the whole method on the reasoning for the wave and what have you. And let me just see here. Oh my gosh, he's he wants to know, where is the favorite place? The E. Do they stop by Omiba as well after training, or do they eat at Muso's or Maselli's? or Portos. My gosh, or guava strudel. Any one of those?
Portos, yes, because it's cheap.
Portos, we got a yes on that due to finances. It's cheap. Okay.
Yeah, and then amoeba is I don't know if it's if I don't know if amoeba's still open.
Ooh, maybe by COVID, unfortunately.
Yeah, I think they moved, but the original amoeba is not there anymore. I'm
Okay.
assuming you're talking about the amoeba record store. I could be wrong.
Do they stop by? Let me just see if I missed something. Could be maybe that's what he was referring to. Let me see.
No, it's still open.
Where do they all eat for Pinoy food grub after training in the valley now? So is there like a good Pinoy place to eat after training
Um,
that's in the valley?
Filipino food.
Yeah.
My mom's house.
There you go. Can't beat that.
They're very rare out here. Filipino food is very
Really?
rare. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. What is the next plus alter food joint in the valley?
What's with all this food? Now
I
I'm
don't
hungry.
know. You might be going to the valley soon, so he wants to.
I don't know. You know, there's actually a cool. So for talking about Filipino food, there's actually a cool place called Fork and Spoon.
Fork and spoon,
Yeah, it's in Woodland Hills.
and that's really good, huh? Okay. All right.
Yes, good Filipino food.
From what I
See,
understand, San Diego has a pretty decent Filipino population.
Mhm.
So I'm hoping I'll get to experience more Filipino food. Yeah. Okay, yeah. So Paul's saying the fork and spoon is good. Auntie's house. Got all. Oh, so it was a record place Julius was referring to. Okay. All right. But all right. Well, we covered the culinary aspect of your interview.
Exactly. Food, booze. What else?
Yeah. So and all right. So what? Okay. So what is he? Like so far as like, what does he try now? Well, first two parts. How long you been with them training with Guro Alvin?
Probably 8 years now.
Oh wow. Good. Okay.
Yeah.
And so is he and where's he located?
He's in the UK, so he hasn't.
UK.
He was out here a couple times pre-pandemic, and now I don't know when he'll get back into traveling.
Yeah. Hopefully soon. I mean, things are. Hopefully will stay this way. Hopefully. Um. So what is he? Okay. So is there like? So is he pretty structured, organized, as far as levels and what have you, and all that?
Yeah, so his system is taught again, like we talk about fundamentals. It
Mm.
starts from the ground first, so that's where all your conditioning happens. But also you're learning proper mechanics of footwork in terms of on the ground. So typically the ground is just used for finishing, right? Finishing your opponent. But based off of the groundwork, the four different like main positions that you're working on is the cat. So there's closed cat and open cat. There's the crocodile, closed and open crocodile. There's the tiger, which is harimau, and then there's it's mainly used for defensive, but it's the turtle, which is kura kura. So you start to learn all those, those positionings, and then from there you learn how to put them into application. So I know a lot of systems have set druves. What I think is awesome about that style of silat is that, from the beginning, you're forcing the creativity and the self-expression of the student straight away. Whereas,
Oh, I love that.
I think that's why it just spoke to me, because it was hard for me to learn from a Drew setting where, okay, here's, Drew's 1 through whatever, 36. And then you're like, great, how do I make this applicable when I go and try and do something, right? So a lot of times when you're learning Drews in that kind of set system or that set pattern, you have like a mental fart sometimes because you try and do something, you're like, wait, where was my hand positioning supposed to be, right? Whereas in SBL, just the stark difference is that you're learning which way your body should be turning. And again, the main principle that is stressed in SBL is something called galek, which is just twisting and turning the body, right? So once you understand what goes left has to go right, what goes up has to go down. In between all those transitions are your hits and you know, where your takedowns are going to be.
Okay, and disruptions and all that. Okay,
Exactly.
okay. Interesting. Wow. So and then, so in as far as levels, I mean, does he have levels before instructorship, or how's he do that?
Yeah. So you start obviously again. I should have got my my little compiled booklet, but you learn you learn first it's like your building blocks, right? So that's from the ground, and then from there it's like I equate to like ABCDs, right? Your abecedarios. So you learn your basic movements, and then from there you're learning how to string 1 or 2 or 3 of the basic movements together, and you do ABC, and then flip it back around, do different combinations, and then from there, once you've understood those 2 principles and fundamentals, then you can start to move into the application of the art, right? And then once you have the application of the art, the way the phase systems work is that you've got your fundamentals, you've got the applications. Once you're able to string application, fundamental, and present that in a you know, in your kambangan, that's kind of the highest expression of the art, right? For me, that's my understanding. And then from there, being able to take, you know, 2 practitioners, and kind of like when you have your carenza, right? You're doing somewhat of your shadow boxing next in front of each other, and then from there you can essentially do your entries. So same thing when you're doing your carenza in front of a partner, it's like, okay, great, now let me enter, and they have to respond.
Got it. All right. Okay. All right. So you kind of touched on this already, but so Alvin's question was, how do they complement each other as a whole? That being your FMA training and your Silat training.
Yeah. Again, it goes back to what is the goal of any student, right? What do they want out of things? So for me, to find the complements of one art that focuses on a lot of weaponry, not so much the ground or not so much the hitting, and then finding the art that focuses a lot on the empty hand aspect of it. You put those 2 and 2 together, and it's just, I mean, your movement patterns become so your movement and the execution of the techniques, no matter what art you step into now, you just have a better understanding of how your body works as a whole and how to manipulate somebody else's body while you just continue doing your flow.
Wow, good answer. Yeah. Wow. Yeah, oh my gosh. Okay, let's see. What a better training spot, Griffith Park or Burbank Hills? Do people still go to film premieres in NoHo? Do they still make bubonic, chronic, boxing heavy bag equipment? So are you familiar with the area he's talking about? So I guess better training spot, Griffith Park or Burbank Hills?
Preferably Burbank Hills, because Griffith Park is it's a big park. It's nice, but there's a ton of people out and about at all times. And right now, rampant is a lot of wildlife coming in. So we've got the coyotes and we got the mountain lions. So I'm good without training without those.
Particularly the mountain lions that will go through anything, water, trees, anything to get you. Yeah.
I'm okay. I don't do good with nature.
Yeah, coyotes I could handle. Mountain lion,
The coyotes out here have been pretty vicious.
yeah,
Um,
we have them out here. You hear them howling at night. I mean, they're kind of creepy, but mountain lion,
yeah,
that's a whole different
yeah.
dynamic. That's no. Do people still go to film premieres in NoHo, North Hollywood? I'm assuming.
Not so much in NoHo. A lot of that stuff is been moved to Hollywood.
Hollywood, okay. Do
Yeah.
they still make bubonic, chronic, boxing, heavy bag equipment, and the Van Nuys Sherman Oaks?
Uh, that is correct. The pro
Okay.
boxing is
All
still
right.
out there. There's actually, oh man, what is the brand? There's a bigger warehouse that makes a ton of gym equipment. I just can't remember their name.
Okay. And then he's got
Van Nuys Sherman Oaks corridor is in
this.
still made for industrial equipment.
Wow. And this is generally all in the Los Angeles area, or just outside Los Angeles?
It's just outside Los Angeles. So
Okay.
like when people say LA's LA's vast. I mean, there's downtown LA, right? And that's why we don't us as a city, it's not convenient to get from one city to the next because each city is probably, I don't know, 20 minutes away. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Wow. Wow. Okay. What's a good mom and pop bookstore in the Valley for martial arts? The Iliad. Any good?
Iliad. I don't think I know about the Iliad. Um,
Okay.
yeah, I don't know. For martial arts books, I would still, I would probably start with the Valley Martial Arts.
Still
So
there. Okay. All right.
they have a lot of the connections with everybody. They do a lot of import and export. So
And excellent. Okay. Sounds like that's all right. So that's the place to go. All right.
yeah.
Um, okay. So okay. So all right, before we get to the teaching on here, what how do we get, just overall, like how do what's your opinion or suggestion, I should say, far as how do we get more women just involved in these arts? And the reason I ask you that is because they seem, in other words, when I look at arts that really could fit women for self-defense based on their weight, their stature, and let's face it, I feel strongly that a good part of women's self-defense should be weaponized. And what better than Silat and FMA? So, what do you think the reluctance for women to get into them?
You know what, I look at that question and I think it's not so much. I think I kind of look at it from a marketing standpoint, right? So it's kind of twofold. Um, I'm a marketing junkie. I fall for things all the time. So
Yeah,
there's a lot of things, I'll look at, I'm like, nah, that doesn't interest me. No, that doesn't interest me, right? So I guess from a female perspective, training in a school or even going physically into a school to see what it's all about is always going to be a tough thing to do because a lot of what you see in a lot of the marketing isn't necessarily geared towards women, right? And I don't know what the right thing is, but
mm,
not to say it has more of a masculine spin on what the flyer looks like, but when we talk about marketing and hot buttons, there are a lot of things that aren't said that really pertain to me wanting to say, yeah, I want to go check out that school, right?
yeah, I think you're absolutely right. In other words, here's when I see females on flyers: women's self-defense. You know what I mean? Like like there. Okay, you'll see females on it, but like
Yeah.
much to your point, imagine if FMA made a concerted effort, like to, and I'm not saying some don't, or there hasn't been, obviously pictures of women doing it, but if it was, imagine though, if that was more frequent and, made more available for the viewing lens, where they would actually see female practitioners being in the advertisement and all that. And so I think you're absolutely correct. I think it's definitely a marketing aspect to this, or lack thereof, should say.
Yeah, or lack thereof. And then, I think what really, again, we talk about things that call to you, right? The style of Silat that I'm learning comes from one of the most interesting regions of the world. And I say that because it is the largest matrilineal society. And to me, that's like, whoa. And I just happen to fall upon that. So it's such a strange, again, full circle thing where I'm like, okay, so maybe this is what I was supposed to be doing in the first place, right? And so when we talk again about the marketing, I don't know. You got to get into the psychology of, like, what is it that, from a female perspective, what's going to keep their attention, right?
Or get it, or just get it right from the get go. Like, what would get their attention? I think that's a good point. Worth like investigating. Like, I mean, obviously, Tuan Apollo. I look at him. I mean, obviously, he's doing some super stuff, and all that. But I just, again, when I look at these two artists, and I just look from a practicality point of view, as far as like self-defense. I'm saying, MMA. Well, I understand why MMA is popular. I mean, you see it on TV any given weekend. You can see a match, gyms opening up, BJJ, et cetera, et cetera. However, though, when I look at it from a practicality of pure self-defense, I mean, I train in those systems, and I have high regards and respect for them. But for women, though, I'm sorry, I think you should have training in everything. But if I were to pick two systems that I could only choose from for women, I would be choosing FMA or Silat.
I absolutely agree. And it's like you said, the weaponry aspect should be focused on, because half the time that is the equalizer, unfortunately.
That's absolutely, like, like I I did it. It was some time ago, probably definitely over a year ago. I had some females on here, and we were discussing women's self-defense. And I tell you, I just don't see how you could be like fully transparent and honest if you're not telling these women it's like, not suggestive.
Yeah.
That, hey, you might want to think about a weapon. I mean,
yeah.
Just, I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's also, again, it's also culture. So you look at, I kind of focus on the culture in which SBO comes from is completely different. The culture of training is ingrained from them from the very beginning. Whereas you look on the Western side, and it's this, I mean, maybe all around the world as well, but I can only speak from how I grew up. It was very much like you have a gender role, right? Unfortunately. And depending on how you're raised, you're either going to be allowed to cultivate the exploration of, as a female, not having to just be that role of maybe wife, parent, etc., right? Maybe you're allowed to go look at other things in terms of, oh, you want to go box? Go try it. You want to go? You know what I mean? I think it's also cultural.
Yeah, no. I think it's a combination of a bunch of things, but I just think I think, like I look at FMA, and Tim Hartman really articulates this well. Like, we're still behind. You know what I mean? Like, if you look at all the other arts, I mean, and things are improving. They are. I think COVID had a lot to do. I think, people just propping it up, talking about it, and all that. But when I look at, comparatively speaking, to other systems, we're still down here. But yet, if you look at what we have to offer for our totality of a system and ranges, we far exceed like everybody else. I mean, it's just my opinion. I mean, we have striking, we have clinch, there's ground, weapons, and yet I don't know. It's I'm just wondering, like, what's gonna change, like, that mindset, or what's gonna propel us up to be an even playing field with some of the other bigger systems or martial arts out there. I don't know. What say you? I just
Maybe.
Am I off base? Do you think? I mean, am I wrong?
No. You're not off base at all. It's also the culture of the school. Do they encourage women in a positive standpoint in terms of, again, I'm generalizing here, but the men who are training in these arts, who usually come from some type of striking background, they're used to a certain way of teaching, right? Whereas if you come from a culture in which focuses more on having and forcing almost the women to go teach, and having more of them be the role models of what the art should look like on a softer end. Not to say that it doesn't encompass the hard end, because they go hand in hand. I think there is a way to incorporate both in the training system, in which it'll level off some of the men's testosterone levels and be like, okay, I get why I have to look like that.
That's a whole nother thing too, and I get they're just want to jump in a male dominated thing. I mean, that can't be easy. I mean, I think that's, for us males, that's a very easy thing to overlook. I mean, a female walks in the door, seeing a bunch of males. I mean, I think that you know what I mean? Like, yeah, and like I imagine, like I don't think we think about that as enough, male instructors and all that. Like I imagine, like, okay, yeah, hey, I feel like taking ballroom dancing, and I go in there and I walk in the door.
Right.
I don't care. I'm going to, like, it's going to, I'm not saying I'm going to be negative, but I'm going to walk in there and be like, oh, okay. You know what I mean? So imagine on the other side, that's got to have something to do with it.
Yeah. And the reason why I brought, the whole striking aspect of it is because, I remember my first experience walking into the Magna Institute, and there was probably one other female in there. And so, it was very intimidating to walk into a school. And again, I don't know what the class schedule was, but they were doing Muay Thai, and I'm like, okay, I don't know if I'm going to fit here.
Yeah. I mean, it's, and that, I mean, I'm fortunate. I have a few females that come, and I think it's more just luck than anything else. But I try to be. I personally, just by virtue of the show, I try to be attentive to that. Like, imagine they're walking in, and they just see all these males swinging sticks.
Yeah.
Sign me up. Right? Just thinking, like, of course they're going to run out the door. I'm just thinking there's got to be a way to get them, make it more enticing, more comfortable for them to want to come and all that. I think there's a bunch of pieces. It's marketing, like you mentioned before. I think is absolutely huge. We have to market them, and in a flyer, it just can't be a bunch of guys all tatted up.
I don't know. Some of the females are like, oh, I'll go for the tatted. Yeah.
Oh, all right, yeah. I'm a little behind the times. I'm a little behind. You know what I mean? But or that, or like they're in camouflage, and they're carrying 20 blades around.
Yes.
Ready for the apocalypse to come. I mean, that's not going to get. I'm sorry. That's
yes.
We're looking at times in the marketing. That's not what's going to grow, or
baby steps. Baby steps.
Yeah, I think so. But I think there's like some things that we definitely need to work on. You know what I mean? I don't know. Something I always think about, like how, one of the ways I was trying to do is by virtue of first interviewing more females on here. I mean, let's start with that, and then the word spreads, and but it's got to be more done than just what the heck I'm freaking doing. Oh my gosh, we got another one. All right, any tips and tricks on training martial arts with Rapunzel level long hair? Tie it up, put it in a ponytail.
Cut it. I'm just kidding. No, leave it tightly braided. That's all I can say.
There we go. And we got Dustin Janelle. What's up?
Dustin.
He's if I'm not mistaken so you must know Seafood Greg Brichardo.
I do.
Okay, so through the Cas Magna kind of
yeah.
Got it. Yeah, gotcha. Okay.
Great guys.
Great guys. All right. Okay, so what's your lines on spar? Like, how to make women more comfortable with it? Like how, gradual increments, and we're going to get to your teaching, but what are some ideas or suggestions? Like,
just hit them. I'm just kidding. I'm so just kidding. No,
folks, we have it live here. Just hit them.
You know what? I think FMA and Silat are on the right track when it comes to getting used to the contact in general. So
you think we are?
I mean, okay, it depends.
I think we're heading that way, but I think again, just by virtue of the shows. If I didn't do these shows, I wouldn't be in a position to even answer this question.
Yeah,
I think there's improvement in that area, but going gradual. I mean, we're not saying you should enter Dog Brother right off the bat.
Absolutely.
Enter a Dog Brother competition.
Absolutely. I absolutely think that the responsibility of the teacher to do it in a gradual manner in which, you have to be sort of intuitive in terms of, is this person, sorry, my dog is trying to get up. Is this student starting to get frustrated in their level of training because I keep putting the pressure on, right? And what I mean by that is when you introduce sparring in general, whether that's with stick or whether that's with the boxing gloves, you have to let that student get a lot of those wins in from the very beginning, right?
For confidence,
straight confidence from the beginning, right?
Okay.
But again, we talk about the incremental stages in which that happens. It's let them get the technique over and over and over, drill it. When they get that confidence, then you introduce another level of stress on them in which it makes them back off for a second and then they go full in. But it's that fine balance of knowing, am I losing the student or are they in it?
Yeah, am I overwhelming them or am I introducing this and gradually? Which you touched upon too. Another thing I want to talk about: stress inoculation. For women, I think here's my belief on this with all my students. They get introduced to stress inoculation. Now, does that mean I come in the room right off the bat screaming and yelling? No, because otherwise I'm sure I wouldn't have any students, as well as I shouldn't. However, though, I think it needs to be introduced in gradual increments. And the reason why I'm bringing this up, when you alluded to putting the pressure on, I think that's a good way where you can start to introduce and all that. Because what I tell my students is, look, as I put them through, then I introduce it. Hey, you guys just experienced the beginning of introducing stress inoculation. Here's why.
Yeah.
Because if you can't deal with it in here, there is no way you're going to deal with it out there. You will defragment. Your mental lobe is going to fragment. I don't care. You know what I mean?
Right.
So what's your take on that? Do you your students? I mean, do you try to introduce it like that, or what do you do?
Yeah, absolutely. So, and you have to, because there has to be truth in the training, right? You can't just, not for me personally. I never want a student just to train and go through the motions and then go out in the street. God forbid they have to do something and that mental capacity isn't there because that's not
overwhelmed.
Correct. And a lot of times that's what happens. You get overwhelmed because the pressure wasn't introduced properly when they were training. So how does that happen? I mean, we talk about, separating the different, if you do have phase classes, separating the senior level students from the ones just starting out. And then in that terms, you're letting, again, when you separate them out, for me, it's allowing the beginners to feel comfortable because they're all in the same type of level, right? And the students to be like, okay, we can put the pressure on each other and we're not going to crack. Once you've kind of established, okay, who can take it and who can't, you take your best senior student, and I completely like stress this, because this is how thankfully I was trained. You take your best senior student who has that ability to kind of put the pressure on but know when to back off, and allow them to train with that beginner and allow them to push them.
Yeah, they got a better sense of control. They've been there a while. I commend you for that you introduce that to your students. I just think if you don't with it, and again, like how do you think, God forbid, they're going to perform out there when they've never been introduced to it? When they're mentally, they're just going to fold, and then physically nothing's going to come out, and then
I'll tell
that's
you,
a show in itself.
Yeah, I'll tell you one of the best drills that I had, and it was with Guru Ed Wong. He was out here for a seminar, and that he does modern Tremonde, and he's up in British Columbia, I believe. One of the best pressure tested drills that we did was literally, and this is where I learned, okay, this is what I need to teach students when it comes to the self-defense manner, was just how to cover. A lot of people don't know how to cover, and I'm like, there's something wrong here. We can drill it, we can test it in terms of, okay, let's do 2-on-1, let's do 3-on-1. Now let's do a mob against you all by yourself. And that was one of the best training methods that I think I've ever experienced, because you were forced to cover in a way where one of the things we talk about the mental strength is, you're going to get hit. So how do you minimize those hits?
Interesting. Wow. You're right. Forced covers. Like
yeah.
Ram's horn.
Pretty much, you better do what you need to do. But
no, I do. Yeah, I like anything like that where I just think if it's introduced correctly, I just think there's just such a benefit, and that you're really helping your students with it. And here's the thing. Here's the other thing too to regular life: adversity.
Yeah.
Like I explain to my students, hey, like you're gonna be able, like you're not gonna just stress out at all because something is happening in your personal. Like I just think it's just a carryover into your personal life. It's just so valuable,
Yeah.
I don't know. What the hell do I know?
I don't know anything. I'm just having a conversation with you.
Don't listen to me. All right. So you teach. So what do you kind of, when you're teaching your students, do you try to keep the Silat stuff from an FMA, or do you wrap them all in one, or you keep them separate?
If they're brand new beginning, I separate the two, because they each have their own teaching mythologies and different ways of remembering how the body moves, right? Once you've kind of figured out, okay, this is how the blade moves in terms of just an FMA standpoint, this is kind of the realm in which your footwork, 45 degrees left, right, back, etc. Not very much different from the Silat entries now. The only difference is that now we've added the blade and the movement pattern of the blade from FMA now into Silat striking.
Okay. Wow. All right. And so far as the Silat is concerned, you're teaching Guru's Alvin stuff.
Yeah.
As far as FMA, are you sticking more on Apollo's?
Yeah. I would say I've switched to his curriculum just more recently. What I was teaching before was sort of a blend of just everything that I learned in the past and what worked.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So, all right. So they're basically, your students now are basically getting PKT, PTK. Jeez.
Yeah. PTK.
Screwed up the initials there.
You need a drink.
The police are going to come out.
I know.
Keep it to you. But all right. So what do you try? Just now you got more males, females, mixed bag. What do you?
It's kind of a mixed bag in all honesty. It would be interesting because this weekend seminar is going to be the first one that I've done in almost probably 2 years, 2 or 3 years of the pandemic. But typically, when we've had seminars, it's usually mixed. The study group that I teach is completely mixed.
That's great. So you got women, females, and then like now, are you keeping all adults, like 18 up, or?
The youngest I have that I have trained, she just turned 14. So yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's awesome. Awesome. Wow. Okay. That's great. And you got a mix. Okay. And you giving them, if they want to, they can get rank from you, the whole bit.
They can go to my teachers for that.
Okay. All right. So you're going to give them everything, but if they want to pursue that, they can, that's okay. Fair enough.
They can absolutely do that.
Yeah. So what do you try? I mean, overall, like, are there certain things you try and instill in your students? I mean, as far as their journey is concerned?
I do. And, the main thing for me is to have them find the truth in what they want out of it. So everybody's different in terms of what they train for, right? Some do it for physical, mental. Some do it for just because they want a hobby. That's great. I don't care what you want, but there has to be a reason and a deeper meaning of why you decided to pursue the training, right?
Okay. No, right. I mean, right. Find yourself, which will inevitably, I think that will help in that.
Yeah.
Wow. So now, I mean, so obviously you just started back teaching. COVID, I'm sure, put a kibosh on that.
Unfortunately, yeah.
Like everything else.
Yeah. We were doing. I had a study. My study group was meeting out at Guro Janel's school out in Simi Valley, and then when that closed,
so you were telling me. That's right. Right.
When that closed, unfortunately, it was hard to find another space to train in because a lot of schools just shut down overnight, which was really, really sad to see.
Somebody was quoting me. I forget who it was, but I think it was like a third of the schools in the U.S. got closed as a result, which is just sad. So what are you teaching? So what are you teaching now out of?
Now the study groups are coming back. I've finally found a school that I mesh with, and they're out in Chatsworth. So still the Valley, San Fernando Valley, and then I still teach privately.
Good. Wow. So all right. So you got an event with Tuhan Rob. How that manifest? How do you know that character?
I've known Rob for a couple of years. Actually, he went to one of the first Silat seminars that Alvin had when he was out here. And so from there, we kind of just kept in touch, and he continued on his FMA journey. I stuck to Silat, and then, during the pandemic, we were talking about putting on a seminar. We just didn't know when and where based on how everything was going.
Yeah. And so what do you guys say, 1 day, 2 day?
2 days. We got 2 days, 2 full days in Redondo Beach. So I'll do, we'll switch off. I'll do 2.5 hours of Silat. He'll do 2.5 hours of FMA, whatever he wants to teach.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Wow. And right. Okay. So he obviously does PTK. Is he with Apollo as well? I don't
quite know who he.
Yeah, he's. I don't lost track too.
He trains with so many different people, so
yeah, that's what I mean. Like yeah, definitely. So that's neat though. So you guys expect a good turnout?
I think so. I mean, it
Good.
yeah, I don't know.
That's good though.
I leave it all up to them. I just show up.
You just show up and so now will you be teaching like will you give them any sarong stuff?
No
Branded?
sarong. The first this kind of an introduction to the system, because there's a, I mean, again, I don't, this style of Silat hasn't really been showcased out here. So, you know,
I gotta be honest with you, I'm first hearing about it virtue by interviewing you. So
yeah. Oh, very cool. Very cool.
So it's new to me. I'm looking forward to checking it out, just curiosity's sakes, you know.
Yeah. So the first day we'll focus on ground. Second day we'll do stand up.
That's neat. Wow. So what's the focus for the ground? Like on the summer, will you be basically advocating them to do as much damage, get back to their feet, and get the heck out of there? Is that?
So when we talk about the groundwork is only there for, because what, 90% of fights will probably end up on the ground.
Clinch, definitely clinch.
Right?
I mean, assuming there wasn't a substantial blow or knockout. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. And so the groundwork is only there for quickly being able to do your destruction, and then you're back up in
get back to your damn feet and get out of there.
Yeah.
100%. Yeah.
It's not a place where you want to stay.
No, you want to play your guard game and hang on down there, and Tom, Dick, and Harry come around and soccer kicking you.
No. Yeah. And that is the whole point. You're dealing with multiple opponents most of the time. You're dealing with weaponry. So if you're going to the ground, a lot of times you've got to find your way out of it if you're not the one taking them to the ground, but also getting out of it.
Good stuff. Yeah, I totally agree with that. Like, yeah, if you got to go there, you got to go there, whether you got tripped, taken down, or what have you. But
yeah,
try to get back to your feet for sure in the street.
Yeah.
Wow. So, what are future goals for you and yourself? Like, like, what do you hope to aspire to as far as yourself and maybe your club or whatever?
Continue training, man. I want to see all aspects of Silat. I mean, I've only been exposed to a small sect, and even though I'm focusing on one aspect, there's so many great people out there that just we don't know about, because they're in the village somewhere, right? So it takes people like you to bring that information forth, right?
No.
But yeah, you're right. And yeah, I want to continue training and exposing the art and the culture of both FMA and Silat. I mean, again, why not? We don't have it out here.
Yeah. I mean, I know you talk about FMA, where like then you got Silat. I mean, now you're even going like, now it's they're like, you're talking about we're in the cellar. They're actually like sub-cellar.
Yeah.
I mean, it's great stuff. I mean, but as far as like notoriety and what have you, So all right. So continue being the student that you're being. Okay. All that. Do you hope one day to aspire to have a school, or you're just fine with just teaching kind of part-time?
If it comes to the point of having a school, great. But it's one of those things where I never wanted money to be a barrier to training, right? And a lot of times it's tough. You talk about people who are just like, man, I saved up all my money to go to the seminar, and it's like, shoot, it shouldn't be like that. Like the shit.
Yeah, and you guys, I can't imagine what your gas price is out there. I don't know if I even want to know.
Oh, don't even ask. Don't even ask.
Is it over 6?
Yeah, we're about. Let's see. I passed the gas station this morning. We're at 6.15. We're expensive. It's unfortunate.
Wow, we're high 4s. 6, over 6. Oh my god.
Yeah.
While ExxonMobil are reaping profits unknown to mankind. we can't help it. We have to raise them. We're sorry.
Yeah, boo-hoo.
Yeah, I know. Whether, yeah, jeez. So what? Last, what if you were to, if you had an effect and you could had a crystal ball and you could change things? What positive things would you want to change in our wonderful community of FMA? So,
Well, because I'm one of the few females on here, I want to see more females training, because
amen.
that intricacy of, it is that fine balance of the yin and yang. I think it is absolutely needed in the arts, and especially
I
in art like
agree.
this. You know,
I totally agree. Yeah, yeah. I know that's one of our goals. Get more women on here for one, give them exposure, but secondly, to just grow the numbers of female practitioners. I mean, yeah, yeah. I think, hey, we've got to keep just, all we can do is just keep trying, you know what I mean? That's all we can, it just, if we, the more we can get a collective effort in it, I think we'll see improvement. I think so. The more we start to work together, I think so. And I've seen definitely evidence of that through the COVID online Zoom seminars.
yeah,
People normally that wouldn't do things together, that you started with Zoom, now you're starting to see it, so I think that's only going to grow, you know.
yeah, and and I think it's this thing where if it's not time, or if it's not money, it's the time, right? So a lot of people, when they have families, it's typically the females who have to stay home and take care of the kids, right? So when it comes to training, it's like you've got to be with somebody who understands that either it's a family event or I'm going to train, you stay home with the kids. I don't know, right? I just
I
don't.
think all the above. I think you're right. I think there's got to be time allocated. To me, if I think it's like your wife, daughters, they should have like training in today's society. I just getting crazier out there. I just think they should have. Yeah, I think they should. Yeah, I think it's essential. Depending on where you live. I mean, obviously, if you're in the sticks and you don't have a neighbor, God knows how far away and all that in Wyoming, okay, you'd probably be good to go with your shotgun. But I mean,
Right.
if you're in a,
Yeah,
yeah, if
it's
you're in a
true.
rural, I mean, but if you're, anywhere where there's, dense population, whatever, I think it's a necessary, like school. That's just how I feel. I don't know,
Yeah,
you know.
yeah, I
Uh,
agree.
yeah, yeah. Of all the martial arts, the handbag was good. Yeah, I think so,
I
Julius.
think
I
so.
would, I would totally agree with you. Totally agree with you. Okay. Oh, I did. All right, Julius. Last question, and we'll get out of your hair. What was the coolest martial art heirloom or martial art gift you ever received?
Ooh,
All
ooh. You know what? Give me 1 second.
right. Hey, we got a little show and tell. See what she's gonna bring out.
This was actually a recent gift from Tuhun Rob. And this was passed down to him from, shoot, I can't even remember. But look at this bad boy.
Wow, look
That bad boy.
at that. Kung Fu. Wow.
It's like one of the originals in one of the first
I was
editions.
gonna say that's not new.
No, 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 no.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's one of the first editions.
Wow. How nice of him. That is awesome.
Yeah,
Wow.
so cool
Jeez.
stuff.
Mm. Haha. Wow. I appreciate you coming on. I mean, this is I thoroughly enjoyed this one. I love your outlook and all that, and that you want the same things for us, women, or hopefully soon to be women, female practitioners to grow. And then, and I wish you guys the best of luck. You're on your seminar this week. It's this weekend, am I
It's this
correct?
weekend. Yeah,
Yeah,
Saturday,
tomorrow.
Sunday.
Okay. Okay. All right. And I wish you the best of luck with that. Tell Tuan Rob I said hello.
We'll do. And thank you for having me on here. I'm excited. I was really excited
Yeah,
about
yeah. Yeah, if you know of anybody that you maybe that we didn't think of that should be a guest on here, I mean, please don't hesitate to let me know.
it. Sure.
As far as the females, we're always looking, for more. So if there's somebody that you know of that has something should be heard, has something offered, by all means, shoot me, Brian, anybody, let us know.
Yeah, we'll do.
So, all right, well, you take care of yourself.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. All right.
Bye, everyone.
Bye. Say bye to the dog.
Oh, boy. Too many.
How many you got?
Oh, I work in dog rescue. So,
For any given day, you're talking, you might be having half dozen there. All right.
Well, we've capped it at 5.
Oh, okay. I was one under. Okay.
One under.
Best of luck to you.
Thanks again. Have a good night.
Bye. And that wraps up 294. That was a good one. I enjoyed that one. Gotta get more females on. And so yeah, folks, if you're watching and you know females that maybe we haven't got to, that please let us know. We, as you've seen and evidenced, we interview anybody that, as long as they're not toxic. So who is next? That is a great question. And I believe Dean Laura next week, Australia. And I'm just pulling out my list here. And who else? Bear with me here. Part 3 of the books, Guro Janel. And we got part 2, hopefully, with Ray Floro, Romeo Macapal, Steve. Yeah, so we got a few more before the month ends. Yeah, so, but you guys will see in the discussion. All right, folks, thank you, those who watched, commented, and we'll see you next time.